Once you win it, and you've got to go all the way to the end.
Lando into the final corner, his first win of the championship. Lando across the line to win in China.
Because you commit yourself to such a level where there is no compromise. You give everything you have.
The strategy paid off. He had one of the best hits I've ever seen on the medium tires. Nick Villetello wins the Monaco Grand Prix.
Deep in it was the final chicane. Rudy's trying to go for it on the inside. There's still both wheels of water. Banging wheels. Old School's gone round.
Oh my word!
And you need more than anything a very clear mind to understand exactly when is the moment to be aggressive, when is the moment to be calculated.
He spun. Brendan's
Oh, wing image. Oh, Brendan's out.
He's out of race. Oh my God, he's out of race.
When you are under a lot of pressure, in a critical moment, in a championship or in a particular race, it's the one that can put together the combination between aggressivity and calculating things that will get the best result.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the League of Europe. We are here for round number 3 around the circuit, the Catalunya over in Barcelona in Spain, in case you lot don't know where Barcelona is. If for whatever reason you don't, then I suppose you better get yourself some geography lessons. Anyway, my name is Jago, taking you guys through this as always. Alongside myself is, of course, Daka, aka Dan. How are you doing tonight, mate?
Thank you very much, Jack. Doing very well, and yet again, very excited to get racing underway for the third round of the Division 2 season. With that, we've had 2 scintillating races full of action, and I expect this third round of the season to be no different. At Barcelona Catalunya, as you mentioned, so we'll see we've got a full grid of drivers yet again here, ready to do battle around this circuit. Very difficult circuit, very technical, should provide a real challenge for the drivers tonight. Can't wait to get it underway. We've got 20 drivers ready to do battle tonight.
Yeah, certainly can't wait to get that underway. Before we do jump into the qualifying, though, quickly just run you through the standings in case you guys have missed the first 2 rounds. Somehow, and I think everyone is still saying somehow, Old School 3000, Division 3's champion of last season. He is currently leading with 33 points. He's had a second and a third place after what was a very, very hectic USA race last week. Knuth jumped up into second place with taking that win last week again, as I said, at USA. Killer Blue in third with 25 points. Unfortunately, DNF at USA, but picking up the win in Bahrain in the first round of the season. Maledictus, his luck looks as if it's changed a bit more now. He is in fourth with 23 points. In fifth is Carmentalist on 18. Nico in sixth with 15. Rudy in seventh with 12 after picking up fourth place last week at USA. Assassin in 8th with 10. Kuhn with 10 in 9th as well, so Jordan of course with Assassin, and then CPI Marcel rounding out that top 10 with 8 points, as well as Ladama and Matt Tibos also on 8 points just behind them. But yeah, I mean, Spain is a different track from both Bahrain and USA. Quite a nice, tight and technical track, I must admit. And I'm wondering if we're going to see anyone sort of maybe come out on top. That could be a bit of a surprise to everyone. I mean, at the moment, Nolan's the one that's currently sitting on a provisional pole position. But, I mean, we're only 4 minutes into the session, Dan.
Yeah, certainly a lot can certainly be changed up. And Nolan did show a lot of pace at the opening round in Bahrain, so you can certainly expect quite a bit from him. Of course, we're waiting for some of the drivers to get settled in, expect lap times, I imagine, well into the 14s later on in the session, but it's still very, very early days. Of course, we're seeing the lap times come in. Nolan, as you mentioned, on top, just over a 10 clear of Matt Tibos in second place. Matt Tibos as well is really impressed pace-wise, but the races haven't quite gone his way in general as Assassin. Wow, what a way to open up your campaign in this quali session. 14-7, and his teammate goes in a second as well. The 2 Ferraris, we saw them performing well in qualifying at the USA, and they're going well already. But Assassin, a 14-7 big lap early on, and if he's doing that right at the start of the session, who knows what he can do later on in the session as we get deeper and the track continues to evolve.
That is very, very interesting from Assassin already, a 14.7, like you said. I actually went, oh, because TDB and Old School had a coming together on the second DRS straight after turn 9, and Old School, our championship leader, is actually out of the session.
Wow.
So he's going to be starting at the back of the grid unless, of course, someone gets disqualified or don't put a time in by either TDB or Hardy. But Old School will be starting at the back of the session. Cortez was just running on board with the new Shizu Academy member, and he puts it into P2. Only less than a tenth of a second behind Assassin as well. So 2 guys already into the 14s this early on in qualifying. You said it'd be around sort of like low 14s I'd be expecting for pole position. I would say that is about right. However, we are going to be seeing a complete mix of strategies tonight as well. The guys that are probably doing like the 15s or 16s at the moment, like the high 15s, low 16s, or hasn't set a lap yet, I reckon are all ones that are going for the set of the medium tyres. And but I know you can do a soft to medium around here, you can do a medium to soft around here. It's completely mixed strategies. Tonight I feel like we're going to really see who's going to be the one that comes out on top. Whether it's the guys that are on a set of softs at the front of the grid, or whether it's the guys that are on the mediums that will be probably around P11 or P12 on the grid.
You yourself, you describe P11 as the poor man's pole position, and that is certainly true tonight. Being in that position can mean wonders, even if you are lower down the grid. That alternate strategy, very powerful indeed. You mentioned that kind of strategy from medium to soft. I suspect a lot of drivers are going to be running tonight. It's on the Division 1 race. I think it was Connor that used that to great effect again to get on the podium. So you can see that further down. Expect some drivers not even trying to go for top 10 if they don't have the confidence in their own quali pace, trying to get that P11 spot, or at least very close to it. And I think you were with me on this, and it's the same for most tracks. You'd much rather start in that 11th, 12th, 13th region than in that 8, 9, 10 region of the grid. So it's a bit of a game between those guys in the midfield, but at the front they'll be going for it. Assassin on top from Cortez. We saw Cortez dominate the fight for pole position in the USA, but of course still very early days here. He's on the first row, joining Assassin, but we're going to see the second runs commencing. Ariel Nolan, solid lap to open him up in the McLaren over the line. Let's see what he can do as we kick off the second runs here in quali.
Certainly will. So going all the way down in towards turn number 1 is going to be, of course, Relentless Nolan in that McLaren, breaking out around just after the 100 metre board, just before the 50 metre board. Did not take as much apex into turn number 1 as he did, but does mount that curve on turn 2. Now turn 3, the long sweeping right, which completely kills those tyres. The front left and the rear left tyres are just going to be on fire from that. Braking just before you get towards the bridge. Not a bad first sector from Nolan at all, but just keeping it nice and tidy, making sure he's keeping it on track, making sure he gets himself a valid lap and maybe even a better lap from that 15.0. Of course, just Assassin letting him go there as well. Coming through turn 7 and turn 8, I know those turns can actually catch out a lot of people. It's very hard on traction, and same with turn number 9 if you try and maybe try and take that full flat. A lot of people don't tend to try and make that out of qualifying when they do that, and I feel like that might have been what we've seen with Old School earlier on in the session. But Nolan's still 0.02 of a second down on his time. Coming through sector 3, it could be where he makes it up, braking just before where the little black board is at the top, and now into the final chicane. Very tricky to get this one right. Nolan didn't take as much of the apex as he probably could into that final chicane, but coming around the final corner, Nolan now up towards the line. It is an improvement, but it's not a position change. Still remains in P4, but does edge that gap a little bit further up ahead from Marcel now.
And we've got Peter on a very good lap. We've seen his qualifying pace as well on show so far this season. Goes third. Another driver into the 114s, 114.9, and he's just pipped by Matt Tibos. We saw the early leader. He goes third, 14.9 as well. Still a little ways off Ariel Assassin, who's on the lap himself. He's done a blistering first sector of a 21.2. So we'll keep an eye out, see what he can do further down the lap. Yes, very impressive indeed. XL Hardy coming up to the line, 15.5 on mediums is a very good lap actually. And of course, for a man that struggled so far this season, we'll see if he can muster a little bit of pace out then. We're still looking to see more drivers coming in. XL Larkin, of course, the reigning champion. First time we're seeing him on track, but he makes a mess of turn 15. He's going to have to back out of that and go at it again. So let's look for more drivers on laps. I think it will be Ariel Assassin who's continued to build on that through the middle sector. 49.2. He's looking to extend that pole margin. He's getting in the car, dancing around through the final corners on the lap, through the chicane. Now to the line is a Ferrari man. 14.7, his own time to beat, crosses the line. 14.6. That was all first sector, and it is at the moment pole position by a 10th and a half. So he has put himself comfortably clear for the moment, but still a lot of lap times to be seen. Rudy's on a very fast lap as well, goes third on a 14.9. So 5 drivers into the 114s. Assassin comfortably fastest, but I wouldn't hedge my bets on that too much. There's still a lot of talented drivers on a very fast track here. Assassin at the top. We'll see if he can hold on to it to these last 8 minutes.
Certainly can. Zadama just coming across the line as well. He's sitting in P13, jumps up into P3, 3 thousandths of a second up ahead of Rudy down in 4th, and 8 thousandths of a second up ahead of Matt Tibos. Division 2 always just produces in both qualifying and the race, always so close, such tight gaps in qualifying all the time with these guys. I must admit, I feel like we have done the divisions correctly this season as well, so I guess we will take that. But Zadama, he's usually not known for his qualifying position, and he's usually known better as his race pace, so seeing him up in 3rd position, I feel like he could have a very good chance for tonight to have a pretty good result if he can maintain what he usually does in a race. Carmental is coming across the line just shy of Hardy's time at a 15.564 for the McLaren. Driver Maledictus just behind him, starting on a lap, as well as Cortez also just starting on a lap. The Ferraris, I think obviously Ariel Assassin's just come into the pits, but that Scream is now coming through the final sector. He was a 10th down on his time at the end of sector 2, and I don't know if he's going to make any improvements. He certainly isn't, because he's going straight into those pits and probably getting on another set of soft tyres. But some quite early ones that are relatively higher than I'd expect, to be honest with you, Dan. Anyone that's particularly stood out other than maybe Assassin? Because I know that, well, already a 10th up ahead of Cortez in 1st, so he's definitely a standout for certain. But anybody else maybe also catch your eye?
Well, I think it has to be Zonoma, because as you mentioned, not known for his qualifying pace, very experienced driver, of course, as TDB goes to the top on a 1:14.5. Way to announce yourself to this event then. TDB flying to the top. Not seen much of him this season, wasn't fairly anonymous in the USA, but that was a stonking lap. I say anonymous, he was looking like he was on for the win at one point, but it eventually slipped back to a poor result. But nevertheless, 14.5, and that has set the marker down. What's Cortez doing? He's backed off on his lap. Maledictus goes to the top. What an upturn in form this man is having. What a season so far. He goes to the top, just 100th clear of TDB though. Very, very tight. But Maledictus, we saw the form in the USA. We weren't sure if it was carryover, but that has put that to bed. 1:14.5. These Alpine drivers are looking supreme right now.
What a lap from Maledictus. Like we said earlier as well, his luck looks like it's starting to change around. Him and TDB were doing very well at USA last week. Maledictus managed to come out on top with a 2nd position in the end. But yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate for what happened with TDB, of course, last week. However, he's still just going to continue to push on through. Both of those guys, they look like they have completely, something's just flicked in their head, or something's just flicked in their hands, and they're now sort of coming out on top with stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this race is going to pan out with both of those guys. But we're just sort of at a bit of a lull period at the moment. Both Matt Tibos and Ishida are out on outlaps at the moment. I think Ishida's going to be the first one across the line to start his final flying lap, from what I believe it will be his final one anyway, if there's still 5 minutes left to go. I don't know if the Haas driver's going to get around and then get back in the pits to go for one more run, so I believe this will be Ishida's final run. Down in 13th at the moment with a 15.4, and definitely looking to capitalise on that, Dan.
Of course, we didn't really see much of Ishida in his first race in the USC. Got involved in an incident with Nico at the very first corner in the race. Let's see what he can do there then. Coming up towards turn 1, braking just before 50 metres. Gets a nice line hooked up on the inside. If he can keep it steady over the curb, he's got solid. Heading into turn 3 then. Keep it just about flat out. Try and take that shortest run you possibly can. Let's see what the first sector is looking like. It's pretty quick. It's a 21.3, 10th and a half up. At the moment, it's going to look to find a bit more time though through the rest of the lap, onto the brakes, and at turn 5 then, try and get as good rotation as you can, then get the nose in, heading up through the kink of 6, now towards turn 7, it's all about commitment here, and trying to hold it together through the uphill exit, difficult on traction, then nearly flat out, little lift, going through turn 9, just about manages to keep it on the track, now heading towards the middle, the last sector, crosses the line, he's still just over a 10th of a second up, 49.4, can he find a bit more in this last sector, or is he going to try and get, for, as you said, that poor man's pole position? Finding for grip, waiting for traction through turn 12, flicking it into turn 13, and now into 14. Going to be very tricky through this chicane. Hop over the carbs, but don't overdo it. Bit of oversteer for the Haas man, but he's powering through now. 13th at the moment, can he get any higher? Opens the DRS, he comes over the line, goes 8th. Another driver into the 114s, but that's a dangerous region. You don't want to be in the lower end of that top 10. So while he's in the top 10, it looks like a decent spot for now. He might be hoping he gets knocked down a few places, has that free choice of tyre for the start of the race.
Certainly does, as well as Nolan, the other one that's sitting in the poor man's pole position at the moment in 11th position. Nolan, he's on a lap and he is about 700ths up on his time. Even then, that will put him around where Ishida has just qualified, maybe even close enough to Matt Tibos, depending on how it how this last lap looks for him. But coming up now in towards turn number 9, trying to keep it as slow as you possibly can, taking that nice bit of curb on the left hand side. Nolan looking like a very nice lap so far for the McLaren driver, 2/10 up on his time. So this is going to put him around where Cortez, maybe even challenge Assassin for that second row grid, or yeah, the grid on the second row, the first one on the second row, shall I say. So let's have a look at the Brit coming around now the final chicane, going to try and maybe mount that curb. No, he actually just takes it around nice and around the outside of that curb, not try and mount that as much as he can. Up towards the line, Nolan trying to take the shortest run up there. On pole position, a 14.4 for Nolan early on now. And that's going to be having the rest of the guys like Mala, TDB, Assassin, they're going to need to get out and get their laps done. And ironically enough, they are on out laps. And I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of drivers make their improvements now. And it looks like all of them are going out on the softs, other than Knuth.
Wow, yeah, Knuth, of course, the race winner from USA, has set his fastest time on the soft, but has gone out on mediums. Maybe thinks he can improve on that and grab that free choice of tyre, but it doesn't look like he's aiming for top 10 at the moment. Nolan, though, half a tenth of a second clear. Will it be enough for pole for the McLaren man? What a lap. Let's see what the Knuth can do. So the middle sector is really quick considering it's on mediums. That puts himself in the mix already. If he can start inside the top 10 on mediums, that's a phenomenal effort. Let's see what he can do in this last sector. The tyres won't drop off quite as much through the lap as the softs, but he's got a bit of interruption from Ariel Assassin. Won't be impeding, but just a little bit putting off, a bit of oversteer. Heading through the chicane, maybe costing him a bit of time. Now up to the line though. TDG Knuth was the time here. He does lose a bit at the end of the lap. It's a 15.4, so he's going to be starting lower down the grid. Let's see what he can muster up in the race. Expect a flurry of lap times coming in then. CPI Marcel is backed off his lap, is going to have to give it just another effort. Behind him is QVR Nico. He's very quick for the first two sectors, right up there with Nolan's time. Up to the line he goes, loses a little bit, but it's still in P6. He'll be hoping he doesn't get bumped down too much further and towards the lower end of that top 10. Cortez over the line, he's just kicked off a flying lap. His teammate Maledictus is just up. That could be enough. At the moment he's 2,000 out of Nolan, but he's a bit offline heading through the chicane. Can he keep it together? He gets a decent enough exit. Has that small mistake just cost him Maledictus to the line? Yes, it has. He slips behind Nolan's provisional pole time then. Nolan's wrapped up the session. He will go no quicker. Gary going well, but he's only 14th as he comes over the line then. Such a high standard in this qualifying session. I think that scream improving again. The Ferraris right up there, and it's going to be, I think that's one of the Williams coming over the line. It looked like Matt Tibos. He goes into 5th position at the moment. It's Ariel Assassin out to the line, very quick through the second sector, just misses out. 200s down. There's the Mercedes to the line of Larkin, the defending champion, goes 5th and gets his campaign kicked off. TDB backing off over the line, interestingly enough. He was up to the middle sector. I'm not sure if we're going to see any more improvements. Peter is on a lap and invalid. It's one of the Aston Martins of Nico. He's also invalid. Maledictus is also backed off. Looks like we're not going to see much in the way of improvements at the end of this session. Try to look for someone that's on a flying lap. I don't think there are. I think we can safely say that Ariel Nolan has snatched a phenomenal pole position. Just 600s covering the top 4. Incredibly tight. Nolan, though, the McLaren man, takes a phenomenal pole. What a way to get his season kicked off. What a way to announce yourself. But a 33 lap race ahead. Nolan on top in qualifying. Big surprise. Can he hold on to it, though?
I think that is actually Nolan's first pole position as well. So, I mean, all credit to him for getting that pole. Literally, Assassin, it's a relentless 1-2 at the moment. and then followed by QVR, and then two Excel members. So this is where it's going to get a bit of interesting with these guys. Obviously, I know they're not going to try and play any team games, but at the same time, it's Relentless fighting each other, Excel fighting each other. It's going to be a bit tight, I must admit. However, Nolan, knowing Nolan, he is going to hold on to that position for his dear life. Doesn't matter who's behind him or in front of him, he is going for that one. So yeah, that was a very good qualifying from Nolan, and all credit to him for putting that on pole with Assassin, rounding out that front row with him. As I said, Relentless front row lockout. Maledictus in third with TDB in fourth, Lark in fifth, Matt Tibos in sixth, Rudy in seventh, Vascream in eighth, Cortez in ninth, QVR Nico rounding out the top 10, Zadama on that poor man's pole position, so he managed to call that one in the end, probably starting on a set of the mediums. Ashida in 12th with Peter in 13th, probably the worst qualifying I've seen him do in quite some time. CPI Marcel in 14th, Gary 15th, Hardy 16th, Canoe 17th, Car Mentalist 18th, Killer Blue had that quali ban from last week, so is starting in 19th, and Old School going out and unfortunately not getting a lap on the board, so he will be starting at the back of the grid. Funny enough, it was this time last week we saw Killer Blue and Old School at the front end of the grid. We're now seeing them at the back end of the grid.
So it goes in this Division 2, this chaotic Division 2 that continues to evolve. Bright and sunny weather for the race, should be no dramas for the drivers. In terms of the rain, looks absolutely brilliant down there in Barcelona, so we're just going to wait for the drivers to select their tyres. Now, of course, we touched briefly on the alternate strategies. Strategy around here, I think, for the front runners inside the top 10 should be a tough soft to medium and a potential soft hard strategy. We'll see what these guys are going to go for. Outside the top 10 should be medium soft. I don't expect anything else really from the drivers unless they want to throw a spanner into the works. We'll see if there's any variations in the strategies. Nolan will be leading off from pole position, and well, if you look outside the top 10, Jack, there are some deviations in. It's not all medium starters, interestingly enough.
No, and I'm quite surprised. Peter and Carmentis both going on a set of the hard tyres, which is very surprising to me because you can do the medium to soft strategy around here. So it's quite surprising to me, and I know Carmentis is usually pretty good on his tyre wear, so for him going for the hards, I'm very surprised he's actually gone ahead to do that. Peter, I know his hards, or his tyre wear, shall I say, not particularly the best. I'm sure he probably wouldn't mind me even saying that either. So I can understand maybe why he's gone for it, but I am very surprised that Carmentis has gone for a set of the hards. Medium and soft is definitely doable, and yeah, that's going to be very interesting. But the guys outside the top 10, well, I mean, Larkin, this will be his first race. TDB has somehow spun on the formation. That must have just gone over to him. He's just kind of sitting at turn 4, might end up getting disqualified. Yeah, there you go. So he's going to have very, very cold tyres. It's going to give the advantage for Larkin and for Matt Tibos, who are just starting just behind him as well. So yeah, this is going to be a very, very interesting start to this race. As I said, Nolan's going to be the one leading us through it. Any sort of predictions that you have going into this, Dan? Because I can't think of one. I could maybe even think someone outside that top 10 maybe somehow taking the win on this.
I don't like predicting anymore, I've got to be honest. It always goes wrong to some degree. We'll give it a crack though. Hard to say because I think we're probably going to get another chaotic race. Maybe I'm thinking with my heart rather than my head here, but I'm going to say Maledictus for the race when I think his luck will finally turn for good and he can get himself up to the top. But we'll see. I'm going to say Larkin for second. Experience I think will carry him through, and then I'm going to say Zaurawa for third, but really it could be anyone. That's the beauty of Division 2, and as they line up on the grid ready to go racing the third round of the season, Nolan Assassin in the front row. Take it away, Jack. Who's going to grab that lead heading into the first turn?
Us Jacks has to stick together. I think Nolan's actually going to be the one that could take this one for tonight. As long as he keeps it on track and makes sure he doesn't bottle it, I think he's taking that win. But we have now got the 4 and 5 red lights that are about to go out for round number 3. Off they go, and it is lights out and away they go. Assassin getting a very good start in comparison to Nolan, and Assassin might actually try and go for this lead at the beginning ahead of Nolan. Maledictus all over the back of him as well, not getting a good start. Was TDB, as I said, he had those cold tyres, so Larkin trying to go around the outside him for P4. Larkin already into 4th position. Rudy also trying to go for that move on TDB for that 5th position. There's been some collisions down the back of the grid, and that is CPI Marcel already down into 20th position. Peter and Ishida down in 12th and 13th, both going at it. Matibos and Cortez as well, both going at it. But Zadama had a very good start already, up into 9th position, and already dropped a couple of those soft guys, as that Scream diving that straight down the inside somehow did not pick up any sort of collision with that. Rudy and Matt Tibbles both going at it for 6th and 7th, and there's a spin-off, and that is TDB.
TDB off at turn 7, 2 spinners on the first lap, then TDB and Marcel both isolated at the rear of the field. It is chaos out then. Zado's made a very good start, up to P8, diving behind is Nico on the inside of that Scream now, returning the favour against the Ferrari. We saw him almost coming into contact with Cortez, through it goes Nico to 9th, and more contact behind them. Peter
Gary
on the inside, round goes Gary at turn 12, the Aston Martin off the road. Here is chaos on the opening lap of Catalonia. They begin to settle down now, and it's Zado who made the start outside the top 10. So did Peter. Great run into the top 10. It is Nolan that just about managed to maintain the lead then, with Assassin chasing him down. So now on to the second lap of the race then. You can see them all filtering through. Don't think we're really seeing much in the way of side by side down there. They're all trying to tuck themselves in into the pits. As that Scream, I think there maybe was a bit of damage for the Ferrari driver that we didn't quite see on our screens, as we're just waiting for the Delta to just sort itself out a little bit there. It is indeed Nolan who leads the way from Assassin and Maledictus. Looks like the field relatively intact up the front, but down the rear of the field, all hell broke loose in that opening lap.
It certainly did. Peter's already starting to drop back from these top 9 as well. Of course, him being on those hard tyres, already up in the 10th position, is actually a pretty good result so far for Peter, and that's going to give him a bit more of an advantage come towards the end of the race. The guys that are on a set off the softs, it's going to be a bit hard for them to try and get past Peter, because those hards, they only get better on later on in the race. So Peter is actually in a relatively decent position. Again, if he does exactly what Nolan does and just doesn't bottle it, I think Peter could be on for a pretty good result for tonight as well. But at the moment, yeah, Nolan, the one that did manage to hold on from his German teammate of Assassin, or German relentless fellow driver, shall I say, of Assassin. Maledictus does manage to maintain 3rd, Larkin up into 4th, and those top 4 are starting to just gap a little bit further now from Matt Tivos, although saying that Matt Tivos and Rudy both setting the fastest lap of the race so far. DRS is now going to be activated on this lap, and you can already see they are forming into little groups. The top 4 all in one group, maybe including 5th, 6th and 7th, and then you've got from Zadama down to, well, Zadama and Nico, and then you've just got Peter and everybody else behind them, all just sort of trying to converge and trying to make up some places. But already from the back of the grid as well, Killer Blue and Old School both up into 14th and 16th from the back of the grid, so they've had a pretty good start, as well as Car Mentalist and TDB both going at it, and TDB getting past Car Mentalist, who's on those set of softs that he ended up qualifying on. Hopefully TDB can maybe make up a couple more places from that, but I feel like that might already be his race in jeopardy for tonight. Cortez maybe trying to eye up a move on Rudy going in towards turn number 10, but I feel like the Portuguese are just going to have to sit behind the Dutchman, and I feel like we're not going to be seeing any moves going into this. However, the beginning of the next lap, we may be seeing some guys maybe try and utilise their ERS and go for some sort of moves, as Cortez gets all out of shape coming through turn number 11.
Yeah, very tough to follow though around this track, but DRS very powerful conversely. Let's see how this is going to work out then. At the front is Nolan, he's managing this brilliantly. He's nearly 100% ERS after the second lap. Assassin having to work a little bit harder to stay in contact. Now DRS is going to be active. Let's see if there's anything going down the straight. Cortez chasing down Rudy for P6, then the Haasman isn't going to have to go defensive though. You have to really get a good run to get close. He does get very close, and they make him into contact. Matibos all in a shape through turn 2, and really trying to fight back at it, but I don't think he'll quite be near enough as Peter round further down the field at turn 2. The AlphaTauri recovering it, spinning the car back across, but the AlphaTauri, having had such a positive start to the race, slipping down the field now. Oh, that's gut-wrenching for Peter. Him and Car Mentalist now slipping back on those hard tyres, not going well for those guys then. Zadama has managed to stick with the group in front. Nico's going to try and work to get on the back of him. The rest of them are staying in contact. Assassin looked like he was pretty stretched to stay with Nolan for those first 2 laps, but now with 2 DRS zones, keeping up with the McLaren, that task should be a little bit easier for the Ferrari man.
Cortez just going straight into the back of Rudy, going through turn number 10. I don't think he's gotten himself any damage from that, or any visible damage, shall I say, but he did look like he gave him a little bit of a shunt going in towards turn 10 in that hairpin. So Rudy, I think, might have just gotten a little bit lucky that I don't think he got any rear wing damage, and he's probably hoping that Cortez got himself damage, and well, I'm sure Zadama's probably hoping that Cortez got himself a little bit damage, because because he's already up into 8th on those medium tyres, and he's managing to keep with those guys that are on a set of the softs. These soft tyres usually only last about 5 or 6 laps before they start to have a bit of a drop off, and you can really see Knuth is the one that set the fastest lap of the race so far on those medium tyres at 18.3 for the German driver in 12th. So I can already start to see that it's going to be changing as Peter has retired from the session. Again, it's not what we want to be seeing, but down in 19th position on those hards, it was going to be a bit difficult for them to try and make that up. But it looks as if the grid's sort of more or less now gotten all themselves back up into DRS of each other. So yeah, those gaps that everyone was there with, they've somehow now closed back up, but Nico is really struggling to keep in the DRS of Zarma. So Zarma now starting to just get a bit more of a pace advantage on these medium tyres and could be under threat from Ishida as the Spaniard at his home Grand Prix.
Right now, we've got an 18-car fight for the lead, so a very typical Division 2 stuff at the moment. Peter's AI car is just driving back on the track. Hopefully it doesn't interrupt anyone out there. Nolan still leads it. Not much in the way of overtaking, of course, in a DRS straight. Very difficult to make progress up the field. Cars that have been looking fairly promising for moves. Rudy, Cortez, Matt Tibos. Matt Tibos seems to be struggling a little bit to live with the pace of the top 4 up in front of him, but still just crucially staying in that DRS. But the same cannot be said for Nico. He's now really struggling. He's got Ishida right behind him on the mediums. You can see the mediums now coming into play. Fastest lap of the race for the Portuguese driver to the inside and through at a P9 at the moment. Now he's going to try and hunt down Zarma, and he's got a really good prospect in this race as well, tracking Zarma through the field as you suspect the soft tyres will start to go off. They haven't fallen off the cliff for yet though, and still Nolan leads the way for the moment with Assassin chasing him down, but at the moment pretty solitary at the moment. And you can see Nico though, he's the one that's really struggling. Now Ishida got through, and now Hardy in the Williams is bearing down the Aston Martin. Nico really struggling. There doesn't seem to be any grip for the Spaniard out there.
Yeah, a little bit of tap in the back with Hardy on Nico. He's on about 45% ERS, so he's used up quite a bit to try and keep up with Nico, but at the same time Hardy, he's going to be on a much better tyre than what Nico is at the moment. Going in towards turn number 10 now, I don't think Hardy's going to try and go for an absolute audacious lunge on the Spaniard, but come towards the end of the beginning of the next lap, I feel like we might see the Brit go for this move on Nico and gain that 10th position. Nico's tyres, as you said, are starting to just die off, and I feel like we might see the Spaniard maybe even make his way into the pit very, very soon. Maybe even try and go for a set off the hard tyres, because he is really struggling out there. Hardy though did not get a very good exit coming out of that final chicane, so I feel like Nico might have just been saved with that. Well, they're saying that Nico doesn't have DRS, so yeah, Hardy using his ERS to try and catch back up to Nico, going already down the inside into before turn number 1. Knuth also maybe eyeing up a move on Killer Blue just behind as well, but the German just backed out of that one. CPI Marcel also all over the back of them, but yeah, Nico, that's now 2 positions he's lost because his tyres are now starting to go off, and we're going to be starting to see now these medium tyres come into effect. Zarma, of course, being the one on the leading mediums, we could possibly see him making some moves very, very soon.
We expect these soft runners to be pinning in a few laps, though. I suspect Nico, I think, could go for a soft hard strategy. The way he's struggling so much, he needs to do something different to stay in contact with the front of this field. Now, up at the front, we haven't checked in a little while. Nolan still leads, but I think he's under a little bit more pressure than he's been in a few laps. Assassin, maybe he's kept the tyres in slightly better neck. We saw Nolan blistering through the first couple of laps. Now they're beginning to come back towards him. The Ferrari chased by the Alpine, chased by the Mercedes, chased by the Williams right there as well. Rudy and Cortez still fighting in behind. Still the Haas in front of the other Alpine, the second Alpine on the road, and Rudy makes a bit of an error though, clips the curb as Nolan dives to the pit lane from the front of the field, so he's going in early. Is it going to be hard tyres, I wonder, for the McLaren? Look behind though, is Rudy under pressure. Cortez trying to find that inside line, using all the battery, all the power to get alongside and commit to the inside. Rudy's going to turn in, they make a little bit of contact, still wheel to wheel through turn 2. Rudy forcing it out wide, Cortez hanging in there, again pitched to the curb, Rudy's not giving us up easily, but Cortez to the inside, towards turn 4, can he get in front here? He's got his nose alongside, they make a bit of wheel to wheel contact again, this time it's Cortez forcing Rudy out wide. Rudy though hanging on inside of turn 5, Cortez lay on the brakes, can he go the long way round? He's going to get pitched again, almost in the gravel. Wow, fierce fighting, and eventually Rudy gets it, but Cortez has to back out towards turn 9. No, not to here, they're wheel to wheel again. Eventually Cortez backs out. Just will it, it's Rudy's round! Rudy round! Such aggressive driving to the front whole lap. He finally gets in front and he's gone on his own as the Haas driver. Out of the way now. He's got to get new tyres on, surely. That's disastrous for Rudy in 1973. You can see he's got no grip out there, the Haas driver. Threw everything in it defending from Cortez, but just dropped it on his own, and that's a major setback in the race. He's a long way from the pack now.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Rudy. It was a very aggressive driving from both Cortez and himself as well, but it was good battling nonetheless. Well, good for us anyway. And yeah, just unfortunate with him having that spin. He was pushing that way too hard. He's heated up those tyres, and I'm assuming he's now, he's into the pits. He's probably going to go for a fresh set of hard tyres to go to the end. Nolan's of course going to get the jump on him, but yeah, Rudy, very unfortunate because it was a good battling nonetheless. However, yeah, that spin's just now completely compromised that, and he's going to be maybe around where Car Mentalist is when he comes out of the pits. Car Mentalist is coming down the first straight now. Rudy is in fact actually emerged out in front of the McLaren driver, so he's actually gone on a set of medium tyres as well, so they are going to be very close to possibly puncture territory at the end of the race. As I said, soft medium is doable, but I would say around lap 11, lap 12 would be the earliest that you could possibly pit for him. So lap 9 for the Dutchman, he's going to have to do some serious tyre management.
The other Dutchman at TDB, of course, trying that same strategy. Of course, coming from the rear of the field, you can understand why he has went for that. So he's gone for the mediums as well. Nolan, of course, on the hards. We'll see if there's any soft pits. Doesn't look like there will be. They're all staying out at the front. And this is giving Zuidema more opportunity to go on the attack. Cortez is next up on his hit list then. The Alpine under pressure from the Red Bull. He defends the inside line. But Zuidema sailing on the outside. Can he get this done? Does he have the grip to go all the way round? He decides to back out of it then, not wanting to fight too hard against Cortez, but he's got to be careful because Ishida is reining him in from behind. Gary moving past his teammate Nico, has stayed out and is continuing to slide helplessly down the order. He's now so far adrift from the rest of the soft train. A lot of work to do at the end of the race if he can keep those tyres in check. Maybe he's even got slight damage, because that is very uncharacteristic for him to just slide down the field in that manner. You can see them all then filtering through. Zuidema still the leading medium runner, but he's under a bit of pressure. Old School's the next driver to get through on Nico out of turn 5. Nico, he's giving it everything, but it doesn't look like the tyres can carry him. He's putting everything into it, but the car's just going nowhere. It's so far adrift now, and he's slipped so far behind. You sense he needs almost a miracle to get back in this race now.
Yeah, it certainly will be. I think Nico, he does need to just come in. He's lost too much time. He's lost too many positions. He's going to come out behind that scream at this point if he doesn't come in and make that pit stop now. And yeah, I feel like he has lost that way too much time. He's now going to be towards the back end of the field. If he had made that pit stop early, I feel like that would have given him an advantage. Matt Tibos comes into the pits, as well as Maledictus, as well as Assassin. So Larkin will be inheriting the lead of this race. Ishida all over the back of Zuidema though. The leading medium runners are both going at it, and this is allowing Cortez to just pull away ever so slightly. I think Ishida might be getting a little bit annoyed that Zuidema is just in front of him, because he knows he can have a chance at going for Cortez. There's Ishida, massive bit of oversteer in turn 2, and that's going to allow Hardy now to go back fast, and Ishida now down into 5th position. Killer Blue maybe trying to look for a move on the Haas driver, but yeah, I mean, Ishida again just getting a bit too heavy on that throttle and ended up just going a bit too wide, and that's now cost him a significant amount of time. Nico, by the way, has just come out of the pits and emerged just in front of that scream in 17th and 16th position, so Nico really has got it all to do, but he's got clean air in front of him and a little bit of clean air behind him to try and just hammer in some lap times and try and make the best of this bad situation for him. A little bit further up though, Larkin 2 seconds now up ahead of Cortez, of course last season's Division 2 winner. Yeah, all the other guys that were on the set of the softs all made their pit stops. I'm assuming we're going to be seeing him come in this lap, and possibly Cortez as TDB picks himself up the 3-second time penalty. Yeah, we're going to be seeing, I'm assuming, him and Cortez maybe make their way into the pits. Yeah, in comes Larkin, and in comes Cortez. So that means that Zuidema will inherit the race lead for now, but Ishida, look how close. In fact, it's not even Ishida, it's Hardy. I forgot Ishida had that little moment. Hardy now already going down the inside of Zuidema.
Wow.
Going into turn 1, not turn 3, into turn 1, and Hardy already up into now the lead of this race, or the leading medium runner. Ishida still can't seem to just find any sort of ways of getting past Zuidema, and now Killer Blue is now just starting to stick to the back of the Haas driver. Old School did pick himself up the 3-second time penalty, down in 8th position as well. So he's going to be giving himself a bit of a disadvantage once he has made those pit stops. But I know what Mark's like. He likes to play this game where he holds up as many people as possible, and I feel like we're going to be seeing him do that once all these medium runners catch up. Interestingly enough, Maledictus has come out ahead of Nolan, so Mala is now actually our net race leader.
Well, let me run through. So Maledictus jumped Assassin at the pits. He was P3 before, and Nolan didn't get the undercut that he would have wanted from those hard tires. And Maledictus, after just one lap, threw on the struggling McLaren, who's now got Ariel Assassin hounding him in the Ferrari. Nolan tried to push it through, bit of an oversteer through turn 9, but you can see those hard tires. He doesn't quite have the grip, and Maledictus has got a real opportunity of escaping further up the road here. So let's see what he can do further down the field. TDB diving Matt Tibos, and Matt Tibos face back with a switchback, gets back into the 13th position on the road. Then Cortez hounding the Alfa Romeo as well, looking for a way through. Of course, the tyres much fresher. It's also Ishida, the next driver to get through on Zonua, who after such a good start to the race, now beginning to slip, now beginning to struggle, as now Hardy breaking away up the front then. Killer Blue as well trying to get to Zonua, can't quite get through. As Ariel Assassin is the next driver to get through on Ariel Nolan, and Nolan of course had Car Mentalist this round. TDB past Matt Tibos is all kicking off now, heading through the field then, as Rudy gets out just in front of that Scream, gets through on the Ferrari. But to run through proceedings now, it's all kicked off then, and now Maledictus from Assassin from Nolan now under pressure from Larkin. He controlled the race so well in the first stint, but maybe the soft to hard strategy just not working for the McLaren driver now.
No, it certainly has not, and you can now see, as I said, Larkin now all over the back of Nolan. A little bit of a switch from Larkin though, coming through turn 7 and turn 8. But you can just see how much more confident he is coming up that hill in comparison to Nolan, as Cortez and Matt Tibos both going at it behind him as well. Cortez, did he go around the outside of turn 9 on Matt Tibos? Did Matt Tibos have a bit of a moment then, as Ishida picks up a 3-second time penalty? So the one that's now trying to chase down the leading medium runner, well, Ishida, he's now going to have that disadvantage from Zadama, from Killer Blue, from Canoe, from Marcel, and possibly could be under threat from Gary as well if Gary just manages to get himself back in that DRS. But yeah, I mean, that's a very big disadvantage for Ishida now as Assassin. Fastest lap of the race. Larkin gets that moved on Nolan as well, so now up in 11th position, aka a net 3rd place. Larkin now there in 11th position.
So Maledictus, net race lead. Assassin and Larkin in behind him. Assassin trying to get to the DRS of the Alpine driver who holds the net lead. But of course, don't rule out the likes of Hardy, who's made such a good drive through the field, and he's cleared all of the medium runners to get to the front of the race. He's up 15 places. He started 16th. He's blown by a lot of the drivers that started in front of him on the grid. And now he sits in P1. Of course, we'll have to pit again. But the question is, what can he get out of those soft tyres? Down under pressure from Killer Blue. Killer Blue's been hounding the Red Bulls, got a lot of pace, but ultimately unable to quite use it for the moment, and bottled up behind. Hardy has been reeled in a bit by Ishida, who's managed to get towards it, but of course that time penalty will not do the Haas driver any favours, not one bit. Marcel pits very early, and could that even be a run onto some hard tyres, I wonder, because that's a very early stop on that strategy. Ishida chases down Hardy, unable to quite draw near enough. It begins to settle down still though, that medium training track, but Marcel coming in. It is going to be hard tyres, very peculiar strategy, because I think you can stretch it to the softs.
Yeah, you certainly can. I'm very surprised that Marcel is actually into the pits. Cortez, by the way, manages to pass TDB coming down that DRS straight. Matt Tibos has also come out ahead of Marcel, but Nico, look how far he is behind Marcel. Him being on those softs for that long just costed the Spaniard so much time, to the point where he's now 1.5 seconds behind the AlphaTauri driver, and Marcel wasn't really too high on those medium tyres. Hardy, also at the front of the grid, picks himself up that 3-second time penalty, so he's also got the same disadvantage that Ishida has. Zadama is now technically our leading medium runner that hasn't pit as of yet, just due to those penalties alone. Killer Blues though is hounding the back of Zadama, and I feel like Killer Blue might try and go for a move. Both XL boys, I feel like they're not going to try and play it a bit safe with each other. They're going to try and go straight for it. It's just whoever's going to come out on top, because Zadama, he's doing well keeping in their DRS, but it just looks like he's losing out a lot more time. Although saying that, Killer Blue did not get the best exit out of that chicane, and you can now see as well Ishida trying to maybe opt to go for a move on Hardy. DRS now wide open for the Haas driver, straight down the inside. Nothing much more that Hardy could do about it. Now into the lead of this race as Cortez down in 12th picks himself up with 3-second time penalty as well. Penalties are going to be a massive factor come towards the end of this race. I don't know who's going to come out on top of what, but at this moment, I do know Maledictus is of course the one that is leading the net race lead, shall I say, but Assassin now starting to hound the back of the Portuguese man, and Larkin also back within these guys as well. I think they were all about a second apart before trying to get past Nolan, but they're now all back with each other. Nolan's just dropped back 2.5 seconds behind these top 3 guys now when he started on pole position. It would still be a decent result for Nolan nonetheless, but I'm sure he would have wanted that win for today. He's now got Cortez and TDB hounding the back of him, and those hard tyres just have not paid dividends for him.
Certainly not, and now he's got Cortez all over him and slipping away from the front of the field now. Maledictus has got decent enough pace, but Assassin and especially Larkin right with him, but Larkin very low on battery as well, so I'm not sure what attacking prospects he has in that train. Nolan slipping back. Now interestingly enough, I want to touch on Marcel, because his pencil, it's Cortez, nearly loses it over the curb through turn 11. How on earth has he held on to that one? The Alpine's still alive here, but Marcel, he only came out about 8 seconds or so behind Maledictus as Hardy retakes the lead from Ishida. These guys swapping around, and it's beginning to bunch up that top 5, certainly out there on the track for the moment. But as now I think we're going to see Cortez throw on Nolan as well. Nolan slipping further down the field now. Cortez going up into a net P4, and Assassin for the lead on Maledictus gets through the turbo, and Assassin now to the front of the race. So now the Ferrari strikes first. I didn't think he was close enough, but that's how powerful that DRS can be heading down that main straight. So through goes Assassin, back goes Maledictus, Larkin still in the ascendancy, these 3 still together and further up the field. Killer Blue, this relentless pressure on Zonema. Zonema's done amazingly well not to crack under it, because it's been non-stop pressure from the Bahrain race winner, Killer Blue, who's right on him. But yeah, Assassin getting through on Maledictus. What I wanted to touch on was CPI Marcel, who only came out of the pits about 8 seconds or so behind the front runners. Now 8 seconds may sound like quite a bit, but remember Marcel was at the very back of that medium train, and these guys at the front, you suspect they're going to be putting on fresh soft tyres. Marcel and Matt Timos going at it. Marcel's going to get through. Cortez going out. He tried his luck on the last lap. Now out the race, and VSC deployed, but the race leaders are just past that safety car lane. Maledictus and Larkin coming together, and they immediately dive to the pit lane. Well, Larkin does anyway. Maledictus has slipped right down the field now. He dives to the pit lane. I didn't catch that. A full safety car now, so that changes everything. Maledictus and Larkin coming together. What on earth has happened down there, Jack?
I don't really know. Larkin was going very slow in the pit lane. I've seen TDB just sort of somehow ghost through Larkin to go into the pits first. Mala's going to be serving a penalty. Larkin, I think, served the penalty as well. Getting his front wing fixed. So I don't know what happened. I think Maledictus must have broke very, very hard whilst Larkin was all over the back of him when the VSC came out, and obviously he must have damaged his wing, which is also probably why Maledictus is also into the pits to try and get that rear wing fixed. So yeah, I mean, the safety car, that's played massive parts on it, and interestingly enough, the medium runners, they got past that safety car before it actually came out to be a full safety car from that virtual. So Ishida, Hardy, Zanima, Killer Blue, Knuth, Gary and Old School are all going to have that free pit stop. Assassin, I mean, it looks like he will still inherit the race lead, only just though. I think it might actually be close. Those top 3 guys, I think one of them might actually be in this in the actual race lead now, you know. The thing is, if they go for a set of the softs, they're going to be struggling towards the end of the race. They can do it, but it's going to be such a struggle for them to try and hold those onto the end of the race. If you've got good tyre wear, you've got to take that risk.
Yes, certainly, and of course they will get the benefit of a few laps, you imagine, behind the safety car as well, where they can save those tyres. Very, very busy pit lane. You can see how desperate they are to come in. Old School stacking behind his teammate in the pit lane, and we have got a mix of tyre choices. Hardy, Hards going on. Assassin will jump these guys, so he goes to the race lead then on 7-lap old mediums, but Hardy is behind him, and Ishida on softs. Killer Blue, Hards, then Knuth, Zerma softs, Gary Hards. He'll come out just in front of Marcel, so nothing's changed in terms of that train. Old School having to stack. He's lost a bit more ground. He's gone for Hards. Nolan pitted, went for medium, so he's changing strategy at the midpoint in this race. Everything changes now. So Assassin leads it, but now he's got pressure. Hardy and Ishida behind on with penalties though. Killer Blue on Hards behind him, then Knuth and Zernema on soft. Now, it's really down to playing it safe versus playing it risky. The soft tyres will be phenomenally quick in the opening few laps, but there is a risk. The hard runners maybe don't have the ultimate potential, but you can be certain those tyres are making it to the end. The question is, though, will they be swamped by the runners behind on the mediums? Wow, we've got so many possibilities. TDB now picking up a penalty, but Jack, so many ways this race could unfold, and I have no idea who's going to take this now.
What we've also missed, interestingly enough, Rudy's retired from the session. I didn't even see that he retired. I know Cortez had crashed out,
Ooh.
but Rudy's also out of the session, and I don't know how that's happened. I don't know if that was the cause of the full safety car or what, but yeah, Rudy's now out of the race. For some reason, Matt Tibbles and Nico are both going side by side into turn 10, but yeah, I mean, this race has now come wide open. At this moment, I think Ishida might actually be on to take his first race win. I'm very surprised that Hardy and Killer Blue have both gone on a set of the hards. The same with Gary. Very surprising. Zadama Knuth and Ishida, I think I've actually played that to perfection. Those softs, they will go to the end of the race. As I said, they will struggle, but they will go to the end of that race. And this is where it's going to be a bit interesting, because those softs, as I said, they only lost about maybe 5 or 6 laps if on a with a qualifying lap on them. So maybe about 7 or 8 laps in the race, and then they'll start to have that tyre deficit. Old School coming into the pits and I think chucking on probably a set of softs or something to go to the end of the race as well. So I don't know. This is where it's going to get very, very interesting. I don't know. I really don't know how this is going to play out. I think Ishida's going to take the win, but those hard tyres, they're going to get a lot better towards the end. Assassin's tyres will get a lot better towards the end. I really don't know. I really don't know.
Well, I would say that the medium tyre is the tyre to be on, but of course, those guys that started on the mediums, that option wasn't there for them. And the medium runners on fresh mediums, they're right down the back of the field. They've got a lot of work to do. I agree, I think the soft tyre may be the one to be on, and I think it will make the end of the race, but the lap times will fall off the cliff in the last few laps, surely. They need to make the most of these first few laps after that safety car comes in, which I presume will be at the end of this lap. So it'll be Assassin leading it. He's got the buffer of Hardy on the hards, but of course these guys that have went in for hard tyres, of course particularly Hardy, Keller, Blue and Gary, those guys are going to have to really work those tyres. They've just come out the pit lane and are going to have to keep those in the operating window, otherwise this restart could get very, very ugly for these guys.
It certainly could. These guys that are on a set of softs, they need to have that good getaway at the end of this safety car. So of course we're going to be having the safety car come in this lap. Assassin on those 8-lap old medium tyres, well, he's got Hardy as his buffer from the other soft runners. So this happened in Division 3. 2 medium runners at the front, and then there was a soft runners behind them. Literally, the medium runner at the front was being blessed by the other medium runner in just in front of him, but he's got the hards instead. There was a bit of a collision back in there as well.
Yeah, that was Keller Blue just lightly tapping the back of Ishida, and penalties, I believe, for the pair of them. And Marcel and Gary.
Ooh. Not too sure how that's going to play out. Surely that's maybe some that would get removed. But Assassin now going at the exit of the final corner. Hardy again has been caught slept, and look at Ishida. He's now going to be just hounding the back of him. Killer Blue picks himself up a 3-second time penalty, and now also lost that place to Knuth. So Knuth, the German, now up into 4th. In fact, has actually had to let Killer Blue go back because I think he overtook him before the restart or the restart lines. So Killer Blue now back up into 4th, but yeah, this is where it gets a bit interesting.
Oh, I think very peculiar. I think Hardy's had a bit of a lag, but Knuth Blue right on the outside of Killer Blue, and Zerno has been let through. Hardy is disconnected from the lobby. Oh no, Hardy, who's in such a good place, as now Gary throwing Killer Blue. Killer Blue has slipped right back here. I think he may have wing damage from that contact because he's really, really slow out there. It doesn't look visible to me. It's now Marcel into the back of the Mercedes. Now he's got the Williams and Matt Tibos hounding him. They're all over the place. TDB inside a turn 9 gets through. Wow, really, really committed, really, really brave, gets through. Now Marcel outside of Killer Blue. Killer Blue trying to hold him up, and he's got nothing to fight with, and they make a bit of contact as well. TDB looking at the back of the Mercedes as well. You can see Killer Blue washing out wide. Zerma getting through the AI car of Hardy, and Killer Blue, he must have damage. You can see him there understeering everywhere then, and they have to stack up behind, they have to wait behind the Mercedes, who does come into the pit lane. That contact is now Ishida going for the race lead on Assassin, gets through, and now the Haas leads the way. Brilliant stuff, sensational through. So now Ishida leads, but it's not. He's not in the woods just yet. Gary and Hardy fighting away. Well, of course, that's Hardy's AI car. Gary gets through. Knuth going inside of Assassin for P2. Gets it done. Knuth is through in a P2. Right behind Ishida. No penalties. Could the Alfa Romeo driver do it again, Jack?
This could be 2 for 2 for the German driver. I mean, he's done very well so far. Of course, the two Germans, the Knuth and Assassin, both going at each other, but Zaldimer now starting to close back up to the back of Assassin as well. Gary, who qualified down in 14th, did not have the greatest of starts. I think dropped down into like 17th at one point. He's now in 5th position. He's got the 5-second penalty that he had from Marcel, but I'm sure might try and get that removed. Hardy, I think, is now back in his car. I'm saying that, I think Marcel's actually just passed him, so Hardy, in fact, now back in his car.
Oh, he is now.
But yeah, this is where things are going to get a bit interesting, because Gary, of course, now being that leading hard runner, TDB gets past Hardy as well, as he's just getting back in his car. I don't know how this is going to play out, Dan. I really don't.
Yeah, it's very, very peculiar then. You can see now, DRS enabled, Knuth to stay with it, the mediums of Assassin with no pace relative, especially to Zauderbach behind, who's closing all the time but unable to quite draw near enough. Heading into turn 1. So we look further down the field then, it's Hardy for Matt Tibos, you can see in that midfield scrap. And the medium runners haven't really got anywhere. It is the soft runners that have dominated this restart. We'll see if it holds true through the flag. But Ishida leads Knuth and Assassin in third place. Zauderbach in 4th, trying to get up to the back of the Ferrari. He's got another podium in his sights, has Zauderbach. But we'll see if these soft tyres are going to hold up. Long way to go in this race. Still 10.5 laps. Looks like he's settling down a bit in that midfield. You have to feel for those early race leaders that have suffered so much now. I saw Nico getting really out of shape. He's got Maledictus right on him. Still keeping half an eye though in the battle for the lead, in the battle for P3. As Assassin slips back from the race leaders. And as it stands right now, Ishida, even though he's got that penalty, the pace of these guys relative to the rest of the field, Ishida, I think at least a P2 could be in order for the Haas driver. That would be a brilliant result if he holds on to it.
Yeah, he's managed to get that gap from Zauderbach now about 3 seconds, so Zauderbach's not going to get the jump on him unless Zauderbach can get past Assassin and just get back up to the back of Knuth. But Knuth is looking like he's going to be taking the win on this one. Ishida maybe on track, as there you go, Zauderbach straight past Assassin. Assassin can't really do anything about it. TDB now also getting past Marcel for that 6th position. And now the Alfa Romeo driver now going to be trying to catch up with one of his fellow XL drivers of Gary. Of course, TDB being on the mediums, Gary being on those hards. Nico, by the way, is building up an absolute train. It's a Spanish train down from 10th all the way down to 16th from Old School lead, having the back end of that one. And you can see Larkin maybe even trying to go for a move on that screen into turn 4, holding it down the inside. And Ferrari's going to try and hold it around the outside and down the inside for turn number 5. And Larkin, I think, is just going to be holding that one. Ishida, another 3-second time penalty, by the way. Ooh. So Ishida's now completely lost out that win and has potentially lost out that podium, as there goes that screen. Oh, a massive bit of oversteer. Managed to hold it, and Old School now go down the inside into turn number 9. And I think Old School might just be able to get this move done. He'll have at least Bacon going in towards it, but there's a little bit further on going up ahead as Maledictus and Nico also still going at it. Larkin trying to go for a move on Maledictus, but it's all kicking off now, Dan. Ishida now with those with more time penalties, going to lose that to Knuth, going to lose that to Zauderbach, going to lose that to Assassin. Might even end up losing that to Gary. If Gary gets out, because I don't know if it was Marcel that went into the back of Gary or vice versa, but I mean, I'm sure we're going to be seeing some penalty removals at the end of this race, as Gary now been overtaken by TDB. TDB now up into 5th position with that 3-second penalty that the Dutchman has to his name. So going to maybe try and catch back up to Assassin. He's on 7-lap fresher tyres than the German in 4th position.
Wow, I'm just trying to take all this in, Jack, yet again. It is Ishida leading, and Knuth has essentially just got a free right to the checkered flag. I cannot believe what I am seeing. Yet again, he looked like he was almost a non-factor in the race, in the middle of that medium train, and he's got the strategy right, he's got the restart right, and at the moment, he's got a race win in hand again. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Really, the main battle on the track, besides the front two, does seem to be the Nico and Maledictus. As you mentioned, Nico holding up all these medium runners and stopping them from getting to the hard runners and in front then. So Nico doing all of those guys, including his teammate, a real solid it down. The laps are counting down, the laps are running out in this Spanish Grand Prix. So let's see how these final laps are going to unfold then. Further up the field, Ishida, I think he is going to hold on to the lead. There is a bit of overtake usage from Knuth, and he's closing rapidly. Wow, look at that overspeed. He's going to cruise through to the race lead. Knuth takes it on track as well as on penalties. TDG Knuth leads the way yet again. He has dominated these last two races now, and he just has to get to the checkered flag, and surely the winner says Zaunuma holding down third place, but still Assassin keeping the pressure on behind him then. It's building up behind Assassin. TDB is stuck with him, much better tyres on him, and all the hard runners, Gary, Marcel, Hardy, and then Matt Tibbos, his teammate behind him. Hardy, of course, recovering right up behind Marcel. Nico a few seconds back, holding back pretty much the rest of the field besides Keller, who we saw have to go in after that restart. That is the rundown of how things look so far at the moment. It's Knuth, Ishida, Zaunuma, your current professional podium. How are these last laps going to unfold then? Are we going to see any more surprises, Jack?
I don't know at this point. I really don't know. That screen picks himself up 3 second time penalty, down in 16th position. Killer Blue really has lost out. He's down in 17th, 20 odd seconds behind. Really is hoping for maybe a final safety car to come out, but it doesn't look as if we're going to be seeing a safety car. TDB, look how close he is now to the back of Assassin. Coming around now the final corner. The Dutchman, he's using that ERS, but I think the German also using that ERS to catch up to the back of Zaunuma, and I think we might even see a move going in towards turn 1. Zaunuma is going to have that outside into turn 1. Assassin trying to hold it down the inside, but I think Zaunuma is just going to have the better grip and the better traction coming out of turn 2. Does manage to mount that curb, but now TDB, look at that, he's using his ERS, he's going to try and maybe go for a move into turn 3, maybe even towards turn 4. He's going to have the inside, Assassin going to have the outside, and straight down the inside goes TDB. Assassin's not going to try and fight that one. He's seen that he has a penalty to his name, so he's just going to sit behind TDB and just let it play out. But yeah, I mean, Ishida, unfortunately for him, he's now going to drop behind Zaunuma. Another penalty, as I was saying that. Going to drop behind Zaunuma, going to drop behind TDB, going to drop behind Assassin and Gary at this point.
Yeah, ultimately, for the man that led on track for a while, ultimately it's really gone downhill for him, as well as Killer Blue, of course, down there with another penalty to his name now. Still, they all fight throughout the field then. We saw TDB getting through in a 4th place now. He's up behind Zaunuma now, so let's see if he can pull a move on the Red Bull. He's got a 3 second 10 penalty plus an extra 5 seconds that could well be removed. Of course, we'll have to wait and see how that's going to unfold. Then TDB though, right on the back of Zaunuma. This will be a straightforward move to the inside and through. TDB to the podium for the moment. So TDB in front of Zaunuma and the Red Bull head. Still, at the moment it seems to be that the podium is looking like provisionally like the top 3 without penalties. That is Knuth, Zaunuma, Assassin. Looks like that's going to be how the podium unfolds at the moment, but of course we'll have to wait and see how this race will unfold from here. Still trades right through the field then. 3rd down to 9th, 10th down to 14th at the moment, as Maledictus at last got through on Nico. So let's see what he can do if he can try and chase down these guys. Of course, no penalties to his name, so Maledictus could still get a very strong result here despite losing out during that safety car period. Running 10th at the moment, Hardy now with a penalty. So all these hard runners now are picking up penalties, setting them back, and these slightly cleaner medium runners behind, including Matt Tibbos right at the back of the hard train, could really benefit then just by keeping it clean.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to jump up ahead of Hardy, Marcel, Gary, possibly even Ishida with the amount of penalties that Ishida has. I think he's got like 9 seconds. In fact, sorry, he's got 14 seconds to his name. Must have picked up a 5 seconds somewhere. I think he actually had a collision early on in the race. So 14 seconds to Ishida's name. He's having a good performance, but just those penalties are just going to take him back. They're going to put him all the way back down to really where Larkin or Nolan are at this point. So it's really Ishida, even where he's going to come, I think he's going to finish outside of the points no matter what. Just from the amount of penalties that he has in comparison to everybody else, it's just gone from bad to worse for him, as Dascream and Old School both going at it for 15th position. Old School just getting the move done into turn 2, and now 2.5 seconds behind the other medium runners. But those softs are really starting to die off, and you can really see that because Assassin now just trying to challenge Zaunuma once again for that 4th position, or shall I say a net 2nd position.
Yeah, certainly at the moment it's looking that way then. Assassin trying to hound the Red Bull, can't quite get to him for the moment though. Still looking further down the order. Of course, Maledictus trying to get to these hard runners now. He's, as I mentioned, still got a good result in hand. And of course, you mentioned Ishida's penalties, 14 seconds. The gap battle for 15th is 14 seconds behind him. That's how tight the field is. That's how much penalties are going to cost the drivers to pick them up and benefit the drivers that haven't. So let's see how this is going to unfold then. Expect the order to change around a fair bit. Watching Hardy, big oversteer in a turn 15. He holds it together though, as still they all run in tandem down the track. Knuth has now broken DRS from Ishida. Now cruising to the front is Assassin down the inside and Zanima then through turn 1. Zanima trying to hold it round the outside. He's not giving up yet, but Assassin more momentum round the outside at 2. Gets through to P4. Now he's going to drag Zanima up, and now he's in that net P2. And continuing to move forward, Assassin has had a brilliant race, you have to say, given the fact that he was compromised by that safety car. P2 would be a phenomenal drive from the Ferrari man as they all filter their way through, but Assassin thrown Zanima now, net P2, considering the way he lost out from that safety car. If you can see this through, that's a job very well done for the Ferrari man.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very confident on these medium tyres so far, and that's, you can really see that it showed it. So with him not making that pit stop, it looks like it sort of benefited him a lot more than if he was to actually come in and go for a set of the soft tyres. So Zadima's just starting to drop back from these guys, and you can start to see as well TDB is catching up to these soft runners as well. He's only 1.2 seconds behind Ishida, whereas Zadima I think was about 2.9 at one point. So yeah, TDB really is just putting that pedal to the metal, and well, as I said, only 1.2 seconds now behind the top 2. I mean, technically TDB, he's going to get ahead of him, but he needs to try and get a bit more if he wants to get that gap to Zaldemar and could potentially snatch away that 3rd place.
Looking further down the field then, Larkin's got through on Nico, and Nico squeezing out Ariel Nolans. Now we've got its teammate Carmentelis to worry about. Of course, these guys, Nico, Nolan, Carmentelis, without penalties, still have good results on their hands despite being in the lower end of the points or completely out of the points on track for the moment. But yeah, at the moment, Knuth 2.2 in front then, as I'm not sure what you've seen further down the field, Jack.
It's Nolan. He was trying to go straight down the inside of Nico in towards turn number 5. A little bit of contact between the pair of them. Nico manages to hold on to that position, but Nolan trying to just get past the Spaniard quick time. Tried doing that a bit too early, and well, it's just not paid out for him. Carmentelis, we might even see him, because look how much ERS he's got in comparison to the 2 in front. Both Nolan and Nico, you see that red flashing light on their cars. Carmentelis has 75% ERS to spare with 2 laps to go. I think Carmentelis has really just got to try and get these moves done. He might even be telling his teammate that I may need to just get out of the way to try and just maybe get some more points on the board for him, especially sitting 5th in the standings at the moment. Although saying that, the other guys other than Knuth really hasn't had a very good race so far, as TDB now gets past Ishida. At the moment, it's an Alfa Romeo 1-2, and he's starting to get that gap even more. It's now 2.2 seconds. TDB is up ahead of Zaldemar. Zaldemar is actually could potentially lose out this 3rd place. Zaldemar needs to get his foot down, otherwise, well, I mean, that's his podium chance gone. It would still be a decent 4th place from starting in 11th, but I'm sure Zaldemar would want to be sitting on the podium.
Certainly would be. Of course, TDB actually with 8 seconds of penalty. And as I say that, another one, and that could put pay to his podium chances entirely, even getting a penalty removal. Further down the field, Carmentelis and Nico. Wheel to wheel through turn 7. Nico's going to get forced off the road, just keeps it off the gravel. They make contact. They nearly completely come to blows. Carmentelis round the outside with a feisty move. And those guys have been going at it. Assassin, now Ishida's gone. Ishida way off the road at 12. Now they all go round him and round. He's got a puncture on the penultimate lap. And what does this mean for the other guys on that soft tyre? Knuth may not be safe just yet. Ishida round, he's got no control over that car. Now watch, keep a very close and eager eye on TDG Knuth, who's got the same age of tyres. Do not rule this out just yet. He's got to nurse these to the end of the race, to the checkered flag. There'll be nerves at the moment for the Alfa Romeo man. As further down the field, Larkin through on Maledictus and Carmentelis through on his teammate. So they all swap possessions further down the field. So we'll see how this unfolds. But we've got to watch here. Knuth holding on. I think Shearer's complete. I think he's put it in the wall down the main straight or into the pit lane. I think he's just retired in the pit lane. Of course, a heartbreak for him. But we have to keep looking at these front runners because, well, Knuth is comfortably in front, trying to nurse these tyres through one sector. He's still not out of the woods just yet. He's cruising round.
Yeah, those tyres, they look like they are in some very dire condition, but I think Knuth might have just gotten away with it. Even if he gets a puncture now, I think the only thing he may lose out to maybe is just his teammate. I think he's just held on to that only just. I think one more lap and those tyres would have gone pop for the German, but he has done so well once again, just keeping his nose clean, putting the right strategy out there. You can see TDB just all over the back of him. Knuth round in the final corner, who will take the win once again, and that's his second win in a row, and I believe Knuth will now be our championship leader. Assassin will come and finish in second, Zaldama in third, Matt Tibos jumps up into fourth, Maledictus in fifth, Carmentalist down in 11th position, ended up finishing in sixth in the end, TDB in seventh with Nolan in eighth, Nico in ninth, and Larkin in 10th. Yeah, it's all so close. 6th down to 10th. I think they're all split just over a second, not even a second and a half, splitting all of those guys as that Scream picks up the fastest lap of the race. But what a race that was, Dan. What a very, I suppose, interesting race. Might be the words, might be the incorrect words for it, because it was definitely something. But Knuth once again coming out on top with that one. Assassin in second, as I said, Zaldama in third. Zaldama, again, just kept his nose clean. That's all he needed to do. The only problem is those softs completely died for him at the end of the race. Driver of the day in-game says it's Knuth, and honestly, I've probably got to agree with it.
Yeah, I don't think you can argue much with that. Well, having to absorb that. Didn't have the action, I think, in the first two races, but certainly the entry with all the different strategies that we had out there was a great watch yet again. But somehow, at the end of the day, it is this man, TDG Knuth, at the top of the tree at the moment, and in the standings as well. Will surely jump into the lead by a decent enough margin. Of course, he was only trailing Old School, who had a nightmare race as well out there, never really got going. So yeah, I'll leave it to you, Jack, to run us through, and I'll get the podium guys in. Let's hear from them after that race.
Certainly can. So Knuth once again taking yet another win on track. Assassin finishing in second. Where he started, he's where he finished. Zaldama from 11th into third. Also to note, Knuth 17th on the grid up to first. This guy, he just doesn't feel amazing, honestly. It really does not feel amazed. But yeah, ends up finishing in third, does Zaldama. Matt Tibos in fourth, Maledictus in fifth, Carmentalist sixth, TDB 7th, Nolan in 8th, Nico in 9th, Larkin rounding out the top 10, Gary in 11th, CPI Marcel picking up the final points, Hardy 13th with Old School 14th, That Scream 15th, Killer 16th, Ashida 17th, Rudy 18th, Cortez in 19th, and Peter, of course, also being the last DNFer, down in 20th position. Yeah, I mean, very fair play to Knuth. I think we need to stop ruling this guy out of being able to take a win despite where he's starting, because anywhere he's starting at this point, even if it's at last, he's got a chance of even just taking a win.
Always a threat, no matter where he starts. Of course, you could say that the safety cars helped him, but I'd say if it happens two in a row, you have to look at some other factors as well in that. He's got the strategy right, he's stayed out of trouble, he's made the overtakes when he's needed to, and ultimately that goes a long way as well. Of course, we'll surely get these guys in to hear from them after yet another very action-packed Spanish Grand Prix. And yeah, we saw, well, just all of Division 2. We saw racing out there, we saw different strategies, we saw very close pack fighting then, and we also saw, well, shock, happiness, heartbreak, elation. This is what we've come to expect from LOE and particularly Division 2. So we'll hopefully hear from these guys after the race. Another great one, it's going to be Britain next up. Well, if I think if history is anything to go by, we should have another cracker on our hands.
Yeah, I mean, Britain, of course, is going to be one of those tracks where it's like it's more kind of like what USA is, where it's relatively even on like different places on the track. You know, you've got your very tight and twisty corners, you've got your long and fast corners, you've got literally there's nearly everything that you could probably have on a circuit on Britain and on USA. But Britain really, I suppose one of the longest tracks that's ever been in a Formula 1 calendar, really is the one that's just going to cement it. We have, of course, now got our first place winner of TTG Knuth into the party. Knuth, my friend, what a race that was. Once again, not ceasing to, you've managed to amaze both me and Dan once again. From 17th on the grid up into first. What a result that is. Talk us through that one.
I don't know where to start, to be honest. But I think I still don't have a top 10 qualifying finish yet. For some reason I have 2 wins now and I still don't know why. Like, I got such a lucky safety car and I knew that I had less tire wear than most of the people around me. And it just worked out perfectly. Like, everyone either had old tires or pants or something was there for everyone. And yeah, it worked. I don't know what to say. I'm just, yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, there is one thing, of course, for you, that I could ask you as well. Of course, Ashida behind you ended up picking up a puncture in the end. Your tyres, you both pit on the same lap. I've got to say, how close was you to that puncture territory? Because your teammate was, I think caught up in about 2 seconds in a lap.
Yeah, at the end I was just driving carefully. I pretty much saved the tire from lap 1 onwards, and I was on like maybe 70% or so at the end, so it was relatively close, but it was still manageable, and that's what I said. Like, for some reason I had way less tire degradation than the others, so yeah, it worked out for me perfectly.
No, I get that. No worries, man. But yeah, I mean, now you are leading this championship with 2 wins to your name. I believe you go on to, I think it's like 53 points or something like that you're now on in the lead. I mean, also with Britain next week, are you hoping to maybe try and get more of an extension on that championship?
I don't know, I'd like to have a good quali for once, but
I suppose that'll be baby steps. We'll start with baby steps, yeah. Good qualifying and then maybe try and progress that one up.
Yep.
Fair enough, that's the way to go. Dan, any questions for Knuth?
Yeah, just on Britain specifically, how do you feel about that track in particular? Do you think that you can have even better fortunes around there? What are your thoughts about that track? What do you rate your prospects as heading into next week?
I feel relatively good around Britain in this game, so I hope for a good qualifying this time. And yeah, well, Britain isn't too much about strategy, so but that's one thing that's gonna hinder me a lot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. It's a nice track.
Yeah, well,
Thanks very much.
Yeah, that was a very good drive from yourself, from 17th up into first, and now, of course, first in this championship. Knuth, congratulations on taking your 2nd win in the League of Europe, and make sure you do go and celebrate on that one, because I'm sure you'll be jumping for joy after that race indeed. We haven't actually got Assassin in the party to do interviews with, so we'll move on to, of course, third place, shall I say, Zaduma. A very good drive from you, my friend, as well. I mean, from 11th to 3rd position in the end. Again, it looks sort of similar to Knuth's one. Your tyres look like they started to die off, but I mean, you still played that well to the point where you kept it as clean as you could. I mean, talk us through that race from you.
Well, from the start on, like, I felt like I didn't really have good pace. Like, in the soft train, obviously they die, so like, I could follow it, but I could, as soon as they went into the pits, I could tell that my pace wasn't good at all. And then in the pits, when the safety car came out, I got held and lost 2 positions, which kind of, like, I could have maybe fought with Knuth for the win otherwise, because I have the same tire wear as Knuth, basically. Like, I was only on 65% at the end. But yeah, like, I didn't have any pace this race, so I'm just really lucky that I just kept it clean and just drove it home. Like, I'm pretty sure I was one of the slowest out of everyone.
Sounds like I've heard it all before, mate.
We've heard this plenty of times, Dan. Don't you worry. We've heard this so many times. But yeah, I mean, as I said, from that 11th to 3rd, I mean, you know, you was a leading medium runner at one point. towards the end of your medium stint, obviously before the safety car came out, again, it just looked like you were sort of just struggling to try and keep up with the rest of those medium guys. I mean, going for those set of softs when you did, I guess sort of managed to help you a bit more in that one. But yeah, I mean, it was a good drive from yourself regardless. From 11th to 3rd, of course, now first podium this season. Britain next week as well. Are you hoping for something a bit more? Because I know you and me have had a bit of history around Britain. We won't talk about it, but yeah, I know what you're capable of around Britain. Are you hoping to maybe try and make that 3rd up to 1st?
I mean, I normally I'm quick on Silverstone, but the last year or so, I feel like everybody's quick on Silverstone. Like there's nobody slow there. So we'll see. I'm hoping for at least points again, or good points. But yeah, it's gonna be hard to tell because D2 is all over the place with pace and just people binning it and having incidents and getting pens. So yeah, it's just a bit of a lottery at sometimes.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. Dan, have you got any questions for Zadoma?
Well, feels weird, Dan asking questions for Dan, but yeah, just. But yeah, just you described Division 2 fairly flawlessly, I think. There, in this chaotic world of Division 2, what are your expectations for the season going forward? Of course, we've still got 14 races left to go. You'll be sitting well within the top 10 now in the standings. What are your expectations for the remainder of the season?
That's hard to tell, really. I'm hoping just hopefully I can get close to that top 5 battle in the end and keep it clean this season. But pace-wise, I shouldn't really be top 10, to be fair. So we'll see. I'm just real.
Well, that's the thing. Like, as long as you just try and keep it clean and keep it as you do on track, then I don't see really any complaints with that one. But yeah, you've done well, my friend. Congratulations on taking that 3rd place as well, and looking forward to seeing how we're going to do next week. But Dan, have you got any final words for the race that, of course, has occurred for tonight?
Well, yet again, just chaos all around the place. Then different strategies really coming to fruition, especially through that safety car period. Another great one. Can't wait for Silverstone next up. That should be another cracker as well. 3 races down, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the season has to offer. But yeah, I think that's going to be just about it from me. And yes, just the same as you, looking forward to next week.
Of course indeed. But thank you to everybody for tuning in for tonight. As I said, make sure you do catch us next week for round number 4 around Silverstone. Divisions 1, 3 and 4 at, of course, 6:30 PM British Standard Time or UK time. And Division 2 and Division 5, of course, next Saturday as well at 8 to 10 PM British Standard Time. And also the PC race at 8 PM British Standard Time every Friday as well. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. And we'll catch you guys next week for round number 4 around Silverstone.